What's up, everybody? This is John's podcast. How we doing, man?
Doing well. Thanks for having me on, man. It's been too long. Good to see you again.
My good buddy Justin, man. It's been way too long. For real, dude. What's the latest, man? What's up? What's going on with you? How's life?
No, it's been good. Like we said earlier, it's been a long time since I've seen you. I know you're over on the east coast of Florida now.
Yes,
I
sir.
moved back to the Tampa Bay area right before, or like pretty much right when the pandemic happened in 2020. I actually left a job kind of roundabout in the service industry. I worked for a large distributor as a liquor sales rep for a company called Breakthrough Beverage. I was basically a consultant. I sold everything from beer, wine, and mostly spirits to a lot of bars, restaurants, hotels, hosted big events, got to go to amazing distilleries, had a lot of really cool experiences doing that. And I kind of fell into that role, from my knowledge, from my extensive background in the service industry. Um,
Yeah.
Bartending, serving, you name it. And when that hit, pretty much everything shut down in Virginia, and they kind of furloughed our whole sales team. And at the time, I had just gotten engaged, and I was doing a long distance thing with my now wife for about a little over 2 years.
Hmm.
And when COVID hit and everything kind of shut down, and they furloughed our sales team, I thought it was a good time to make a jump back to Florida. And so I did. I've been down in this area ever since. Got married this last fall in October, and just have been crazy busy since then, living life. I work now in the mortgage industry, so I do like a lot of wholesaling and mortgage stuff. But recently, I've been able to work from home, and on the weekends, I just picked up bartending maybe one night a week. So now I'm doing that again, and I've got a kind of a cool, fun story that I had this past weekend. So we can get into that too. But yeah, I'm still kind of have one foot in, one foot out of the service industry. Have a lot of love for it.
Yeah,
There's a lot of ups and downs in the industry, as you know, and we can kind of go from there and talk about whatever you like.
dude. All I gotta say, first things first, let's cheers to this. Congratulations. You're married. You're a married man. Let's cheers to that.
Thank you. Cheers.
Yes,
Appreciate
and
it.
also we're gonna cheers to your newborn coming soon, bro. You're stepping and dipping into the fatherhood, my brother. I want to salute you to that, my bro. I'll tell you what, man,
Thank you, man.
it's a journey, and I'm telling you, bro, like you're doing it right. You know what I mean? Speaking of being blessed, man, the church days. Hey,
That's how we met.
I met this man at a small group hosted by a good friend of ours that that brought us more into the light, I should say. Anyways, yeah, man, that church actually brought a whole different impact on me, man. Like
Mm,
it definitely took a big change in my life. I'll tell you that. Because for I don't know about you, but for me, I was raised as a Catholic, especially in my heritage as a Hispanic Mexican majority. It's like either Christian or Catholic, and Catholic
yeah.
and Christians are very similarities. Just Catholics more hands-on and believes in the Virgin Mary, which is, like I said, I was raised as a Catholic. I understand both sides, but that wasn't really my choice. You know what I'm saying? That
Mm,
was kind of like pushed on to me and to believe in. And I was like, I get it. But on my own choice, when I decided to take a chance to go to the chapel, and dude, the first thing was, what started this whole thing, even for podcasting music. I fell in love with the chorus. I fell in love with the way the structure of music was going. Just like, because I went actually in December, when every year they
yeah.
have that before Christmas
Candlelight service. Yep.
candlelight service. Yeah, yeah. And I went with a friend, and I was like, dude, this is sick. Like I literally, my heart just like opened up. Like I felt like I was the Grinch. You know what I mean? Like my heart grew, and I was like, damn, I haven't felt like this in a long time. Um, yeah, man. And then after that, I was like, you know what? I'll come. Because I haven't gone to church in a long time. And that's where it all began, dude. And then I got rebaptized again as a Christian,
Yeah.
and no regrets. Not
Yeah.
one day. And it's just like uh I'm blessed to be in that same journey, and even just going to those small groups, dude. When I first met you, um, I know I remember earlier talking to you too. You were saying that you moved here in around 2014, correct?
That's right.
That
Yep.
yeah, and that the fact that it was like fairly new to you, and that you were just constantly on the go and just taking the time to find God and Jesus, and such matter time, the short time that you have, you know what I mean, that you were just constantly on the go. You
Mhm.
made time for that. And I mean, started a small group, bro, and you were just always chill, laid back, felt like you were just there to be there, like to just embrace what was around and to be taught. And then, how we were allowed to speak our minds, just speak your mind, you
Yeah.
know, it's crazy.
No, absolutely, man. I was actually, I come from a Hispanic background too. I'm half Spanish, half Italian. My dad's side of the family's from Spain, and so for us, or for me growing up, my dad wasn't really uh, a practicing Christian, if you will. He, in the culture is just so embedded in Hispanic culture and Italian culture. So yeah, I was actually baptized Catholic, but my dad became a born again Christian in the 90s. They like, the evangelical church became like, um, very sort of sensationalized, and they had a lot of big movements in like the early 90s and the late 80s. So when he got baptized and was born again Christian as an evangelical Christian, it took on a whole new light for him. And my mom found God that way too. And so yeah, it was a big impact on my family for a long time. My parents later got divorced, and but my mom had always really been a devout Christian, and her spirituality and her practice and her faith always evolved throughout the years. And same thing with mine too. When I first moved down here and got plugged into the church, which is how we met through small group. It was at a time in my life where I had, was in college, but I was living up in the DC metro area, and I was also, bartending and working in restaurants in the DC metro area. Was doing a ton of that, and I was also just partying a lot. I was in my early 20s, 20, 21,
Yeah.
22, and I had just gotten out of like a really bad relationship, and I was kind of like lost and broken. And my grandparents actually um, moved down here like in the early 2000s. So I had, spent my spring breaks down here a ton, and loved the area. I didn't know anyone when I first moved down here at all,
Mhm.
except for my grandparents. So I was just looking for a change and just wanted to, break this cycle of, just kind of living hard and partying up in the DC metro area. So that's kind of how I ended up down here on a whim. Basically, my grandparents were like, yeah, we've got a guest house, feel free to move down with us. And so I was blessed enough to be able to move down here, got plugged in with the church. And like I said, that's when we met. And then
Yeah.
from there, I've had a lot of incredible experiences, a lot of growth, a lot of development, a lot of ups and downs. And yeah, a lot has even changed since then, since it's been like what, 28 8 years now. So
Yeah.
yeah, it's crazy to even think about.
Time
But
flies,
yeah,
brother. Whew.
yeah.
Tell
So
you,
it's
man.
we have yeah, I mean, I have, I'm not really involved with that church anymore per se.
Yeah.
I'm still a believer in God. I still love Jesus.
Oh,
It's
100.
just my spirituality has definitely kind of shifted and changed due to experiences in that particular church, because I was so involved. There's a lot of negative experiences I had, but also good. I kind of had to deconstruct a lot of what I believed and deconstructed a lot of what I thought due to some experiences with people in that church there,
Hmm.
and just the way I was treated. But I mean, at the end of the day, like, I don't harbor any ill will or any bad feelings towards anybody, and I'm just happy that I'm continuing my journey, my path to try to be as good of a person as I am, or to be the best person I can be, especially now that I have a kid on the way. So yeah, it's for me, it's still trying to figure out, you know, how to best incorporate God into my life. But other than that, I know I didn't want to have to derail the conversation too big into
No,
Christianity, religion, or spirituality. But yeah, that's kind
no,
of like just a little recap of kind of where I am now and kind of how I got there.
no, I get that, bro. And I could definitely relate to exactly what you're saying, brother, because I personally have my issues in situations, like, with people. It wasn't like this to say, well, let me rephrase. I'm gonna rephrase that. So it wasn't necessarily people, but just the way things were in my eyes, I saw coming to, you know what I mean? Like I
Mhm.
stopped getting involved doing my voluntary work, because I was, and I ain't gonna, front, I was in a service industry as well at that time too. And I was balancing two jobs and trying to make my ways and trying to make my time to be involved, which I loved every minute of it.
Right.
I loved every time I went and did what I had to do, like uh
You're
working
doing
the
soundboards and stuff like that too,
soundboard.
right?
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
that's what it was. It was a soundboard and I did stuff like that. And I loved it, but it's just
Yeah.
like eventually it started feeling like work. And
Yeah.
I was working two jobs, bro. Like, you know what I'm
And
saying?
you weren't getting paid either. I wasn't getting paid either, you know.
Yeah, yeah, and don't get me wrong, bro. It was just
S-
volunteer work, but at the
Right.
same time, it started feeling like that. And then once I stopped getting involved, and I just wanted to go to church to hear the word, it was always like a consistent thing that they would ask, like, "How come you're not getting involved no more?" This and that. I'm like, I understand they were concerned, but at the same time, it's like it was kind of like being forced, and it
Yeah.
started. Instead of,
It felt like it was turning more into like a business
yeah,
where you were just a number and you were expected to do X, Y, and Z and not bat an eye about it. And so
yeah,
yeah, I got burnt out. You know, I was working two jobs too,
exactly.
uh,
That's why I
in
can relate. Yeah,
in school, and then volunteering. Like, you know, whenever Pastor X, Y, and Z called me and said, "Hey, I need this, and this done for the children's ministry. I need you to help build this set, or I need you to volunteer and do these hours during the day, or whatever." I mean, I would be more than willing to do it, but at some point, I was like, "Well, if I'm gonna, you know, kind of go down this path, you know, I mean, I want to get involved as much as I can, but if I'm going to go down this path and, you know, be a youth minister or a youth pastor, um, or whatever it may be, like I also want to know that there's kind of like a light at the end of the tunnel, if you will, um, to where it made sense for me to kind of, you know, go in, you know, fully with both feet. And when I wanted to try to do that, I felt like things in the church and leadership were just becoming a little bit more toxic, and it just felt, like I said, more and more like a business. It felt more and more impersonal, where it took away from my actual growth, my actual connection with God,
yeah,
and it felt
exactly.
more and more like it was, you know, it was just about the church, not about God.
Yep, yep. More and more towards them making it grow. And I understand, like, you want more of the words to be passed on, but like it felt like it was a company. It
Yeah.
wasn't, it didn't feel like it was the house of God. Like hear the word and you felt the presence. Like eventually that went away because you started seeing the same thing consistently all the time, and you're behind the scenes too as well, and it's like you see everything, you're involved in everything, and then you're seeing it in front of you, like how it plays. So
Yep.
that's when it starts kind of juggling with your religion, your belief, and then you're
Yeah.
just like, why am I here if I'm not learning anything anymore? Like I'm just
Right.
doing the work.
Yeah.
But like I said, no shots fired at anything or
For
any
sure.
bad talk, but like, for them, but I'm just saying, like in general, in my and your experience, that's just what it was for us.
Hmm.
Everything
Yeah.
else, there's still people that are dedicated, they're still there, that are the ones that actually hold it together, they're still
Hmm.
there, shout out to them. But my thing is, man, like if I am just a simple person just trying to go to get inspiration, inspired, and to hear that, and to feel that belief, what I'm hearing, I want to go to where I feel that. And then for
Right.
facts, like me, I'm a facts person, bro. Like I have to know those are facts before I can believe it. To before I can like, like
Yeah.
it's like I'm like, okay, I can understand, but like I need to believe it. I need to know
Yeah.
those are true facts.
Mhm. Yeah. I mean, it, getting like, anything with when when a church becomes really galvanized and really politicized, um, just because of the nature of our culture and like the amount of changes and differences in our culture, good or bad, within the past eight
Yeah.
to 10 years. There's been such rapid change. Um, it's been really hard. It's a really, really difficult, minefield to navigate to. And it's hard when you're a church like like a big evangelical church and you're rapidly growing and you've got a bunch of people involved. There's a lot of hands in the pot, and it just makes things really messy and sticky sometimes. And
Yeah.
I feel like that's kind of what happens with a lot of churches, and some implode from the inside because of it, and others, they can figure out a way to move forward. And yeah, so from what I understand now, the church is doing well still, but just like our experiences, um, a lot of other people kind of felt, um, disenfranchised, or
Yeah.
kind of hurt by their experiences due to the growth of the church, and certain leadership and things like that. I mean, we don't have to say names, but I mean, I know two people that that were really, really heavily involved that are no longer involved with the chapel, and want nothing to do with them. One of them, you'd be surprised at, actually is you know believes in God, believes in Jesus, but hasn't gone to church in the past 2 years, and
I can relate. I
he had
think
a
I know.
really big position of power too,
I
and
think I know what you're talking about. I didn't know
yeah,
exactly what you're talking about because, bro,
and
I can relate. I haven't gone to
yeah.
church in God knows how long.
So
Facts.
and I go to church, with my family every once in a blue moon, and I do like the holiday services and things like that. But I mean, for me, it kind of came full circle where now, when I go to church, it's like, you know, what inspires me the most and kind of what helps me find the best level of relationship with God is like going to like a bare bones basic church. I went to last year. I went to an Easter service at an Episcopal church, so it's like the Diet Coke of the Catholic Church, if you will. And yeah, so I mean, but it was amazing. It was just a
Yeah.
super small service, man. It was beautiful, and it felt really reverent because it was just very traditional, and it allowed me to connect more that way. So
Yeah.
yeah, that was a wild kind of eye-opening experience for me. Like I had to go like full circle, with my spirituality and my growth. So yeah, it was wild.
I hear that, man. I definitely get that because it's like raw, it's authentic, it's like pure. It's not scenery, it's not a show. Excuse me. Sorry, show based. It's not, it's not
It's not a
extra.
production. Yeah.
Exactly. It's more like look, it's the word. You go hear it out. If you feel free to donate, it's up to you. No, don't even worry about it. You're still gonna get the same thing,
Mhm.
regardless. Um, Let me ask you this: where are you with God now in religion form?
Yeah. So for me, it's like there's when I left the chapel and when I kind of stopped volunteering as much as I did, like and I started just focusing on my career and my life and my relationship now. Um, with my wife and just moving forward, kind of leaving that scene, I went through a period of deconstruction where I kind of questioned a lot of my beliefs, questioned things like inerrancy of the word. Um, it's all kind of stuff, man. I read a lot of books and listened to a lot of people because at that time in like the mid 2000s, a lot of people were experiencing that too, with evangelicalism specifically, and kind of how there is a lot of toxic elements to um, organized religion, especially in the evangelical church.
Mhm.
And so for me now, I went from a period of being agnostic and like, not wanting anything to do with church, to now to where, I believe in God, I believe in Jesus, and I'm working on my, working on my spirituality and working on the best way to practice my faith, and just kind of figuring out how that works. So right now it's me trying to like read the Bible and listen to people that I think are good voices in the church that kind of, you know, not the church, but like just theologians, um, and listening to like kind of what is
Yeah.
really, really important. And kind of one of the things I like discovered is that, you know, uh, evangelicalism is such like a Western phenomenon, and it's not really, it's different than, it's a new thing. It's not something that is, um, has been around for a long time. Like, even back like in the 1800s and the 1700s, the way they kind of viewed Christianity was different than the way we think we view it now.
Yeah.
Things like things like the Book of Revelations and how they interpreted that, and things like um, you know Left Behind and Trials and Tribulations, things like that too. Like, I mean, the way we interpret that is mainly only specific to evangelical Christianity. It's actually not really specific to how our ancestors viewed, the church and viewed Christianity and spirituality. So a lot of
Yeah.
that, like, I had to like kind of deconstruct and figure out my own. There's a book I read by a dude called Peter Enns. He's a doctor of theology, really, really smart guy. Another guy, Bart D. Ehrman, who I read, he's not a Christian anymore. He's an agnostic, but he kind of, broke down a lot of stuff with religion and spirituality and different religious texts, and even from the scribes and the people that were recording things, and how there's a lot of errors in the Bible, if you will,
Mhm.
with just the way they recorded it. So like I kind of had to like juggle through a lot of that and
I
kind of
get that.
figure out what I believe and why I believe what I believe.
Right.
Um, but yeah, that stuff was really helpful to me, man. Like one book I will definitely recommend you reading is The Bible Tells Me So by Peter Enns, and that really kind of shed light on, hey, like these are like when the ancients wrote these books, and when historians like Josephus wrote a lot of these, accounts of biblical events, they weren't meant to be interpreted literally.
Mhm.
For example, like the genocide of the Canaanites, there's no historical evidence of that. But even the fact that in the Old Testament, when God commanded the Israelites to genocide the Canaanites, um, that wasn't something that was supposed to be interpreted literally. And a just God wouldn't really, a just loving God wouldn't really want that. And so the way it's taught now is not the way that even the ancients, the Israelites would have used those stories to kind of paint the picture of who God is. It's a lot of it is, stories and metaphors for the ways that, people understood religion these days, because they were trying to get a bigger picture across. They weren't looking at history through the lens of our eyes, where it's all facts.
Mhm.
And so for us now, as modern Christians, it made things really difficult. So the stuff like that was really impactful for me to kind of help my spiritual growth and understand the Bible in a better way, and understand who God is in a better way.
Yeah, I get it. I get it. Because like for me, I've always struggled with that. It's like living out the pros and cons of like, understanding the Bible. Like for me, I've always thought that like along the line somewhere the words got mixed up in the Bible, and then everything just became basically structured instead of telling exactly this is what the Bible was written,
Mhm.
from the beginning of time. But like that's why for me, like I've never really took the time to read the Bible, because I always had that in the back of my head. Like, am I feeding myself lies? Am I feeding from somebody that just wrote this man-made? Or was this, from God himself, word for word, God himself wrote these and we just copyrighted for centuries and centuries and centuries until now. Like there's somewhere along the line somebody's like, no, we gotta change this up. You know what I'm saying? And for better words. So
Yeah.
that's definitely interesting, bro. I definitely want to look into that because I want to grow my spirituality because I'm still heavenly, I'm a God believer, but at the same times I do believe nowadays because science has grown so much, it has balance. You know what I mean? If there's no balance, how is the earth is going the way it is? You know what I mean? Like, yes, we're growing, technology is growing from beginning of time until now, we've grown in such a short a time. If you actually think about it, it's we're not far away from beginning of time. It's just time is so fast and we depend on time. It's a long time for us because we're only here for 100 years mathematically, technically, in reality, if that, where we'll be here until maybe 60, 65. So think about it. I'm 30. I got 30 more years until I know exactly how long I'm going to be here for, because I'm going to have people tell me how my body is and what's going on and what's malfunctioning now. And you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
life is too short, man. That's why, it's best to be aware of what you know now so you can teach that because you're about to have your child and you have to know exactly where your mind is so you can carry that on and they can carry that on or choose to whatever they feel like doing, because in our generation we were forced. Now everyone has a choice. You know what I mean? And that's completely realistically real. From kids nowadays have a voice. We never had that as growing up. We were like, command, this is what you have to do. This is what you need to do. This is it. If you don't listen, you're grounded. We had repercussions. We couldn't speak our minds. We didn't have a voice. We didn't know how to do that. But in reality in life, as you get older, you start understanding when you start truly soul searching of who you are and what you're meant for. And you're probably will never know exactly what you're truly here for until your time comes, until or who knows, there's people that believe in you don't not necessarily die, like death is not the end, that's a new beginning. And it's like I believe in that, but then for me, I till this day, I'm not gonna be honest, I'm scared. I think about the afterlife, like what's next. Like, okay, I'm here, but then what's next? And that's in low key everybody's back of their mind, but nobody talks about it
Yeah.
because we're structured. We have a certain way to live. We have a certain way to, we have to wake up. We have to do this. You know, no one really takes the time to have a spiritual wake up call and be like, yo, I'm doing the same thing every single day. But when it's my year round for my birthday, I get excited. I want to turn up. I want to get lit. I want to celebrate my life because I'm this age. But you don't realize that's a year stripping that's stripping from you. So it's like you're getting closer to death, but you're celebrating it. You know what I mean? It's like mind blown. I'm mind blown telling myself that right now. You know what I mean? Like it's crazy if you really dig deep into that. And yeah, man, I'm very intrigued that our mind is kind of like at the same aspect, and then we haven't talked in years, and we were brought at the same church. You know what I mean? Back on to memory, because since we're talking about memory now, I'm going to jump on the service industry. Yeah, so you asked me what I've been doing pretty much and stuff like that. So honestly, man, I'm just in the food industry right now, dude. I'm still as a server and I love it. I love being a people person. I love still being able to interact with people. But at the same time, I'm doing this podcast thing now, and I do it because like I said, I just love talking. I love learning. I love educating myself as well as putting the word out there and getting people out there, and also just people that can relate. You know what
Yeah.
I mean? Because I feel like because since this whole pandemic happened, bro, like it was really a wide open. It was an eye opener for like the entire world. It wasn't just like nation or certain parts of, like this is a big impact. And a lot of people forgot how to be open with each other and to react and to connect. And it's like
Sure.
depression has definitely set a big, heavy weight on the world, especially what's going on nowadays, man. It's insane to think about it. Like we're actually living in this kind of world that we're seeing, you know what I mean? Let alone it's
Yeah.
like, for me, I don't really watch the news, but like, dude, like I have TikTok and constantly I'm seeing something negative. And it's constantly seeing something crazy is happening. And I'm like,
Feeding that algorithm, man.
it sucks. And
Yeah.
it's just like, it's the part of the world we're living in nowadays, man. And um, but yeah, I just feel like, this is something that's helping me move. Cause like I was stuck. I was sitting on rocks, saying, just doing nothing, just working. I was workaholic, because the whole pandemic, it kind of slowed me down and I was just doing nothing. You could definitely understand. Um, and we were just like just stuck, bro. And then from there, we were just like, from what now? You know what I mean? All I'm doing just working. So I moved out here because I wanted to get away that area. I
Yeah.
love everyone that's there. I just the area itself was just reminding myself, like slowing me down. It was kind of like quicksand for me.
Yeah.
It was pulling me down, and every single way I try to look and do get involved with the wrong crowd and just surrounding myself with just things that just weren't benefiting me.
Did you grow
And
up in this area? Are you from the Tampa Bay area originally?
originally, yeah, but like I decided just to get away from that area because I couldn't do it no more. It
Yeah,
was
no,
it
I
was
hear you.
just too much.
I have to move like I feel like I got to move like every 5 years, man.
Yeah.
I mean, I was talking to my wife about it too. Like, look, like, Pinellas County is getting so crowded. It's just like I'm kind of over it too. Like,
Oh, facts. That's why
where
I'm.
where
That's
I'm at now, I mean, I just, my ultimate goal is like, I've got chickens right now currently. You know, I I want to move out. Like, I want to have the flexibility to move out and like just honestly like either homestead, which is like, start my own like, farm or small, uh, you know, sustainable living situation where I can grow a lot of my own food and spend time the way I want to spend it and have that level of freedom that I want to have. That's for me now that I'm starting to raise a family and think about that side of the picture and that side of the coin. That's the ultimate goal for me now. And so now I'm like, everything I do is like, okay, how do I get there? And I never thought I'd want that. I've always dreamed of like being a creative person and jet setting or living in like an exotic city somewhere overseas
fast
or
life and all that.
whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah, and now I'm just like, look, I still love all that. I love traveling. I love picking up, going places. I went to Europe for the first time this summer. I went to 5 different countries, had a freaking blast, man. I loved it. So, but I mean, the more you travel and the more I see the way life is going, the more I just want to kind of slow down a little bit and just build a future where I can see uh, where I can see like raising my kids will be a lot more sustainable because um, like you said, the way life is going now, the way the world is, it's so hard, to be present and to not be constantly bombarded with negative feedback and negative information um, without being affected by it. I mean,
Mhm.
it's tough.
It is. It is, man. And that's where life, humbles you in a certain sense as you get older. And it's like, you know, going back to what I was saying, what I mean, we're structured in a certain way, living growing up, we're used to moving fast, and that's where, like I agree with you, bro. I wanted to do the fast life too, and I still can. I mean,
Yeah,
I'm not slowed down like that yet. Like I, I want to have kids one day and stuff like that. Just right now, for me, and this is just me, and I want to have a kid when I can financially provide.
Oh, for
And
sure.
for sure, like, yes, I definitely want to be in the food industry because, like I said, I love interacting, I love talking with people, I love
It's a dying
how
art, man.
it's yeah, it's great. I love it, man. But at the same time, I want to be able to provide and still have time to be with my child and still have,
Mm.
not have to worry about financials. You know what I mean? And be able to have that to actually sit there and watch them grow. You know what I mean? Because I was raised, with my parents just constantly working, and I'm sure same as you.
Yeah.
We grew up like that, and it's just for us, it's harder to have to say like we had that relationship with our parents when really all they did was just work.
No, it's huge, man.
Yeah.
I've got two stepkids. I mean, I love them to death, and they're incredible kids. But unless you have the time to be like fully involved and present from day one, it's it's incredibly hard
Mm-hmm.
to form who they are and form those connections and let them know that um, there's a better way to live their lives.
Yeah.
It's tough, man. Yeah, especially now that my oldest stepson is in high school. I mean, he's gone through a lot of rough patches, man, because he was in homeschool, uh, you know, basically, through seventh and eighth grade, basically, and then went into high school, and he's got involved with the wrong kids and the wrong crowd. I mean, and yeah, kids are going to explore and do and make mistakes and have
Yeah.
fun. And yeah, I'm not going to be that parent that's going to try to coddle them and shelter them from things. So I think it's important for them to experience stuff, but at the end of the day, if they don't have that foundation, if they can't make the best decisions, or at least know when they're really going to make a bad decision,
Yeah.
if they're too, if they don't know who they are enough, and if they're too invested in just making other people happy, or just making or getting their self-worth from what other people think or say about them, then they're going to have a bad time. It's
Yeah.
going to be really rough, especially now, because you know this is the only thing that teaches them. This is the only thing that they get their information from. They don't get their
Yeah.
information from, they're going to go to this before they go to you. And
Right.
so if you can't really build those foundations from an early age, it's almost impossible.
Yeah, man. And that's why, like, being a parent is just so difficult nowadays because of that. It's like they're going against technology, their own in a sense, without them being a teacher, or letting alone let them. I mean, yes, it can make life a lot easier being a parent. All you have to do is just teach and make sure they eat and survive in the world. But that's taken away of being a parent. Parents not necessarily their job to teach, but it's their job to guide. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? It's like, you know, how is a kid gonna live without guidance? Like, don't get me wrong, I was kind of one of those kids because I was the only child. My mom did whatever she could to provide and to spoil me in the sense that I was growing up as a kid. But um until God let her reach her limit, what I mean, God bless her and rest her soul. But after that, that's when reality just went bam, you know what I mean? It just hit me, it's just like a
Yeah.
whole different bring up. Because like I was growing up before that was like chase your dreams, you know what I'm saying, and do good in school, get straight A's, and that's just pretty much it, and live your life. That's what I was bringing up to. It's kind of like a fantasy world. And when all that was taken from me and reality set in, and then getting used to somebody that I never necessarily lived with my entire life, and bringing into a whole new different world, and especially at that bad time, I was going down a dark path. I
Yeah.
was getting into fights all the time. I was releasing my anger on just fighting and just being in a bad place all the time and just bringing that problem home to where I was living at, and I saw the affection and I saw what was going on around that, and I saw who I was hurting, and I was like, I can't bring that here no more. So
Yeah.
I took it upon myself to leave, and I ended up, staying with my grandmother, and she was such a big impact and such a big help that she kind of like took in for where my mother left off. And because she wasn't, she was, she was getting to that point where like I had to man up, what I'm saying? I had to
Yeah.
make certain decisions. I had to, you know, make sacrifices, to provide. And that's what I had to do. And that's what made me grow up a lot faster
For sure.
and more wiser, dude. And I feel like that is my Bible.
Yeah.
And it's weird to say in a sense because life teaches you what reality is, what's going on. You know what I mean? Like we can't hide from the truth when you see it in front of you. They're like, yeah,
Yeah.
we could wake up and do the same thing every day, go to work, provide, and be all you can be every single day. But like all that wasn't brought to us like the truth. You have to vote to get your voice heard, or a lot say that it doesn't matter, like your vote doesn't matter. Like, well, you're the one that's pretty much making that happen because you're not making an effort at all.
Yeah.
If you just took a second just to make a decision on what you think who would make the right path for your for to at least fight for your voice, why not? Like it's just like, you would rather let the person that you would know make things worse for you
Yeah.
than try to even at least try to go against that. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? It's just like,
Yeah.
I don't understand like why things like that weren't brought up at our
Yeah.
time. Like
Yeah.
parents tried hiding the truth from us, tried hiding the life from experience. And it's just like it's not their fault. It's the way they were brought up as well.
No,
It
I
was
mean,
different. It was different times.
I talked to my wife about that too because she was a single mom, raising her kids, and she um, basically was living with her parents, raising two kids, where their biological dad was completely,
Shout out to the single
basically
moms, by the way.
out of
But
single
yeah, go on.
moms, basically out of the picture. My mom, my parents divorced, young. They had a really ugly divorce too. So I see what my mom went through, and all the sacrifices she made and everything she did for us. And it was incredible and inspiring. And to this day, that's why I'm so close to my mom and value her, opinion so much. And I wouldn't be who I am today if it wasn't for her.
Yeah.
But watching my wife, raise, uh, raise her kids, looking at the mistakes my mom made, because my mom wasn't perfect either, but she was an incredibly strong and powerful woman, and just kind of seeing the way, not that my stepkids aren't, amazing, not that I don't love them, but seeing what she kind of how she had to raise them the way she did, and why she did certain things the way she did, like spoiling them, giving them lots of presents and lots of toys. And
Yeah.
all those were like kind of band-aids because it was a broken family. And so at the end of the day, like, um, if you try to shelter kids too much, or if you try to overstimulate them and just give them stuff as a band-aid,
Mhm.
uh, then they're going to be worse off for it down the line.
Yeah.
It's like and at the end of the day, no matter what you do, um, no matter how you want to raise or how you teach your kids, just due to personality types, whether it's not a nature versus nurture thing. Sometimes
Facts.
kids just have to learn the hard way. Sometimes kids just have to go through school of hard knocks, man. And that that was me too in a lot of ways. And I
Facts.
was very lucky that um, I wasn't all school of hard knocks for me, but I know with my stepson, it's going to be for him. You know,
Yeah.
100% for him. Like
As long as as long
he's not gonna get it until he moves out of the house. He's not gonna get
right.
it until the reality sets in, because he doesn't want to. It's too scary for him to deal with the hard truths of, okay, I need to not just let life happen to me. I need to like react to life. I need to do things. I need to like be proactive rather than just, going through the motions and letting life happen to me. If you just go through the motions and let life happen to you, and you don't have any goals or plans or dreams, or, you know, kind of think about life in the broader terms, or rather just, wanting to, you know, be with your friends and just, fuck off, or just, get high or whatever, then, you're going to have a lot of fucking problems. You're really
Oh yeah.
going to have a difficult time. And it's one of those things where it's like, you know, you want to learn from experience. Like, learning from experience is good, but you also want to try to, have a balance of like, yeah, learning from experience and experiencing new things, but also learning from the experience of others.
Yeah, yeah, man. And then I believe that 100%. And that's why for me, shout out to everybody that's always been behind me, like guiding me. Because like I said, life is your teacher, dude. And I'm the first one to tell you. And that's why, like, when it comes back to how kids were taught as and with their single parents when it comes to spoiling, because like I said, I was spoiled. My mom did whatever she could to make me feel like I was, one and only, because she put a band-aid on what was going on behind closed scenes.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because of what reality was. That mean my mother, my father weren't working out no more because they had their own issues, problems, and etc. And she wanted me to just live a good, happy life. And she brought that, she gave that to me. You know what I mean? And
Mhm.
I'm grateful for every moment that I can remember, because it's not like we can continue and build that journey, like life took that. So, and for me, growing up to face reality on my own, not knowing or being prepared, took a whole different toll on my life. And that's why I'm at where I'm at today and have, like, it's weird to say, but no regrets. Like, because I'm glad, because I wouldn't
Yeah.
have met the people I would have met. I wouldn't have met you. I wouldn't have went through the experiences that I went through, and blessed to have interactions and people that basically um, took upon themselves to give me some advice,
Right.
to guide me, and to teach me, right from wrong. Because now I can sit here and be like, yo, that motherfucker was right. This whole time I was looking at him like he was crazy, but that's just all of us. And
Yeah.
that's just the kids in front of us that we're trying to guide do the same thing, because we were just exactly like them. And we can't shadow that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? We have to be like, we were there. We have to be understanding more than trying to judge. You know what I
Right.
mean? And a lot of people do that. They judge
Mhm.
before they can understand, and it takes a lot. It takes a lot for somebody to sit there and really understand. And that's why nowadays it's a great thing, but then again, it's kind of scary to see like kids nowadays actually have a voice. Like I was saying earlier, like it's such craziness how the younger they are, the more successful they're becoming. But that's scary, because if you actually see the rates as well, a lot of kids, because they're becoming more interactive and growing up with the pace of technology in the world that it is, they're passing us. Like, to be successful and to be gaining so much money, so much publicity at the same time, you have to be a maturity level, right?
Mhm.
Except for the kids that are Disney and, young pop singers. But like every day it's like they're getting younger and younger. And it's just like, it's crazy. Like, yeah, I know, I'm sure there's a system where they have a certain percentage where it goes to the parents, but it's their parents to put into their bank. So when they're of age, they have access to that money.
Mhm.
But it's like the pressure, it's just like, yeah, you put pressure in diamonds, but not when they're young, not when it's still fragile and still growing. Their
Yeah.
minds develop quicker than us, because it's like a sponge. the brand new sponge absorbs a lot quicker when you put it through water, right? It absorbs faster. It's brand new. But as it gets older and older, as you use it, you notice that the water doesn't absorb that sponge no more. So as we get older, our minds are harder to process into to you know what I mean? I mean, it's facts.
Yeah.
Look how old people are when it comes to technology. Trust me, we're in the food industry, man. They're like, oh, goddamn technology. But then you got the young kids that are like, man, we got this, dude. And we're like, okay, like, don't show my age again. I swear to God, you little shit. I'm just but yeah, man, it's just crazy to think of it that way, dude. But it's just reality, man. And as we get older, we're gonna learn. We're never gonna stop learning until we're dead. But kids, you know, as they get older, as it goes, they're the younger they're getting, and just the more it's just carrying on that way. It's just crazy to see.
There's a lot of different voices out there. There's like, and the one thing that, you know, Gen X, or sorry, Gen Z and Gen Alpha have is that, you know, they have so many tools available to them with the internet, and it could either be a blessing or a curse in a lot of different ways. And so the kids that you see that are extremely driven and successful, you know, the ones that are coming from broken homes or broken families, you know, there's obviously going to be kids, that are going to, you know, turn to just, you know, just toxic culture, whether it be, you know, the products of their circumstances of where they live, and that's all they have. So like, you know, they can't escape that the reality of living a life of crime, or living a life of, like, you know, just being completely depressed and lost, you
Mm.
know, and in the internet, and just living only behind the screen. And there's just other kids, there's gonna be other kids that are gonna use it to propel them out of poverty or propel them into success. And you know, you'll see like kids that are doing e-commerce, you know, affiliate marketing, drop shipping, um, trading stocks, developing YouTube channels to be successful and create a whole lot, and, you know, create a life for them. You know, there's kids like that that are using those resources and using their
Oh
intellect to
yeah,
that too at an extremely young age, and becoming incredibly wealthy. So it's the, you know, it's both ends of the spectrum, man. It's so you're going to see, like, if you, it's all about just tuning into the right voice,
yeah,
and also just taking action, and not letting life slip, you know, pass you by, or like letting life slip through your fingers, man.
yeah,
So
yeah.
that's the one good thing for me about, you know, the internet and society today, is like the saving grace is that there's a lot of ways to get out of the matrix. There's a lot of ways to get out of the traps of the system with
Hmm.
the way life is going, to have a level of freedom and financial security that you want. But there's also a lot of ways that, you know, that same exact tool that can help you get there, it can be a trap to where you're only going to live behind a screen, and it's only going to further propel you into depression, anxiety, or just complete inactivity, to where you feel useless and you feel lost. So yeah, man, it's a weird time in our society now, where, you know, it's, we've never had the level of, the ability to completely destroy ourselves, destroy our culture, destroy everything that what makes us human. But also, uh, on the flip side, we also have the ability to completely transform, you know, human life for the better. So it's just one of those weird kind of broad subjects, man. It's crazy. And so yeah, but for me, at the end of the day, you know, that's kind of knowing who I am, and knowing what makes me tick, what makes me go, is the interaction with people, doing things like this, having
Yeah.
that creative outlet. And so yeah, like, I mean, I may have a job where, um, you know, I may end up in a career path, because I'm not entirely happy with my career path now, but I
Mhm.
may end up having a career path that just pays the bills. But as long as I can provide for my family, but also have an outlet to do things like this, I'm great, I'm fine. But the goal is to be able to provide for my family, but also do something that I'm creative and passionate about full time. And
Yeah,
right now, the only kind of real outlet I have to do that is the service industry
yeah,
because I love food, I love wine, I love spirits, I love making cocktails, I love cooking, and I love the camaraderie. And yeah, that's what drew me into the industry to kind of go full circle back to it, man.
right. Yeah, man, and never ignore the signs, brother. I tell you that. Never ignore the signs that are brought to you, because I tell you what, man, if it wasn't for the food industry, I wouldn't be a people person. I wouldn't be able to know how to interact or even talk to people. Before this dude, that was my biggest struggle. Like, I didn't know how to talk. I didn't know
I
how
had no
to,
idea.
yeah. And it's just like it makes you become that. And the thing is, like, you can use that what you're using to find in what you want to do, and it's just like your passion, and it's like use it, create ideas. It's always with just an idea. This whole thing, podcasting, was just an idea
Yeah,
because I love music. I tried getting involved with music by doing the singing, by being trying to be an artist, trying to be a songwriter, trying to make beats. I did everything I could, but it just, the passion wasn't flowing no more like how I used to have it when I was at a certain young age. And that's all I focused on. That's all I did. That's why I got tattoos of just music, bro. Like, because I love it. But the drive wasn't there no more.
mm,
I was trying to teach myself. I was trying to go to classes. I wasn't showing up. I was just, it was just, it wasn't working out.
yeah,
So I just came up with this idea, like, how about, what if I just, talk to artists and people that are actually doing it, people that are still inspired, just to have an idea and get inspired. But so far, I love doing this. I love talking to people. I love hearing different opinions, not even just the music industry anymore. I just want to hear about the food industry we're in. I just interviewed a couple people, and it's mind blowing to hear from a different opinion about the same thing, but in a different part of the earth that we're living in. Like, we're all going through the exact same thing, just in different ways and different aspects. And I would love to learn that. So
right.
why not talk about it, bro? Like us tonight. It's like if God kind of spoke to us, you reached out, you wanted to do this interview. We haven't talked in so many years. We met in the presence of God, and look where we're at. Different aspects in life, but we're talking about the same thing.
Yeah,
Get what I'm
yeah.
saying? It's crazy.
It do is wild, man, and I really appreciate it. I gotta thank you. I gotta give you shouts out for that, man. It's
Appreciate you.
been, a lot of years have passed, but you've always been such a solid, good, genuine, caring dude. And so
Appreciate you,
I
brother.
appreciate that, man. Yeah, seriously, it means a lot. And the more and more I get older, the more your friendships start to drop off, and the people, we may not talk, for a few months, but I mean from now, but like, hey, like these kinds of things, these kind of connections, these kind of experiences, interactions are what make life important to me.
Facts.
And that would they're invaluable because a lot of it's surface level. They don't really happen anymore.
Mhm.
So yeah, man, I really, really appreciate that. And we'll definitely have to hop back on here and do another one of these, man, and really
It's
like,
fun. It's always
structure it out.
fun. Yeah, I did, for real. I definitely enjoyed this, man. Like I said, I needed this conversation. I needed this kind of talk, man. Like you said, as you get older, your friendship drops. It drops like flies, brother. Like the size of my hand, or the five fingers on my hand, bro. Like, I can't even count that many friends I have right now. Like, I have people that have acquaintances. I got people that I still, have deeply in my heart that I interacted with. But you know what I'm saying? Like, in reality, bro, life gets in the way of reacting of others. And I'm glad, this is something that's my passion, that I can still have an interaction with a good friend like you. You as well, bro. Like, since day one, since I knew you, you always been humble, chill, laid back. You know what I'm saying? I've seen you, throughout social media, how you are keeping up. I know you've been out and about, journeying, catching up with your wife, and making a life, man. You're doing it, and you're doing it well. And I know those kids are gonna be brought up well, with your step kids, you know what I mean? Like, they have good energy and good sources by them. And honestly, with this day in life, I'm all about energy. I'm all about
Right.
my surroundings. That's why me, I do myself the first to bring that energy towards myself to in order to embrace it. Because if I can't embrace and if I can't feel and see that energy, how am I going to give it to somebody if I don't have it myself? You know what I
Exactly.
mean? Not to be selfish, but that's just how it is in life. How are you going to give a dollar if you don't have a dollar? You know what I
Exactly.
mean? You got to think of you first. Like my grandma's always told me, there's only three things you got to worry about in this life, and that's you. And not to be in that matter, but you have to think about that reality. And she is one of those Hispanic Mexican grandmothers that are like, you better believe in, like she has the Virgin Mary type deal. And trust me, bro, like she kept me in line, but she taught me well.
Abuelito, eh?
Abuelita, she's the one with the chocolate, bro. She'll toss it at me if I acted wrong. But you know what I'm saying, bro? Like, you one of those, you one of the real ones, man. And I see that in you. And hey, God bless you and your family, brother, for real. And
Thank you, man.
we gotta do this again, bro.
Yeah,
You
let's do
know,
this again. Next time we'll chop it up more about the service industry, music, whatever. I mean, I didn't even really get into because that's like my one of my biggest passions at like bar none is music. So that's
yeah,
one thing I do miss talking to you about is music. Because I remember when we first met, we chopped it up about music a lot. So we
facts.
definitely gotta do this again, man. I really appreciate you, but I'll let you get some Z's, brother.
To continue, we
To be
out.
continued.
This is John's podcast. My boy Justin. We out of here on Real Talk. Deuces.
Deuces.
What's up, everybody? It's John's podcast. Do not forget to like and subscribe for more videos.